Hello and welcome back to the Budget Knitter Podcast. My name is WSpargurKnits and I am your host. For all of you wonderful subscribers, thank you for joining me again. For everybody who is new, I hope you subscribe and join this wonderful little community that we have going here. I think we're just at under 800 subscribers at this time, so I'm really excited about that. I definitely, when I started this, I think it was like 6 months ago, I thought, maybe I'll hit 400, but you guys have proven me wrong. This is a wonderful community. I'm so happy to be a part of it. I'm so glad that you are here watching my podcast and joining me for all of the fun knitting and yarn things that I do here on this channel. So if you're new, you can find me on Ravelry as WSpargurKnits. You can find me on Instagram as WillMSU. You can find me on Twitter as WillSpargur9455. And we have a Facebook page for this podcast, and that is facebook.com/thebudgetknitter. You can go there and like that page. I set that up because I still haven't really figured out how to use Ravelry, so I try to do some content stuff there for you. People tend to have Facebook a lot, so hopefully 2018 is gonna be hopefully a much stronger year in terms of content, so I'm hoping that Facebook is gonna be utilized a little bit more there as well. I will put all of the names and stuff for all of my social media in the video description box below so that you can follow me and tag me and stuff, and you can see what I'm working on. I do try to keep at least a consistent Instagram presence, so if you like looking at all of the things that people are working on, that would be a great place to keep up with me. So again, my name is WSpargur. If you are new, thank you for joining me. I am so happy to be here on this, what is today? January 5th. Today is Friday, January 5th. I am filming this a day early because I have a busy weekend ahead. So this should be up tomorrow and available for you to watch. I have a lot of things to show you. Well, more than usual. Usually I have maybe just a couple, but today I've got a little bit more than that. I have actually more than one finished object this time. It's a great way to kick off the new year, so I'm really excited about that. So we're gonna just jump right in since I have so much to show you. So first of all, what am I drinking? Today I'm having a glass of green apple vodka with Sierra Mist. It's a Friday, so I figured I'd indulge. I almost always do these on the weekends, so usually there's some sort of adult beverage happening. So that's what I'm drinking. Oh, fun story. This glass came from Caesar's Palace by complete accident. I ended up with it. Shh. It's from one of their bars. Anyway, okay, so drinking, a little bit of an adult beverage. Adult beverage. It's not an easy set of words to say. So what am I up to? So it is 2018. My last podcast was December 23rd, the weekend right before Christmas. So quite a bit has happened since then. I got a raise at work, a nice little 2% raise. Since I haven't been there for very long, that was very generous of them. They did not have to do that, so I'm very appreciative of their generosity towards me. It definitely makes me feel valued as an employee, and I'm very excited to continue to work there. So that's a great thing moving into 2018. And I will be getting that raise on this first paycheck of the year, so I'm really excited about that. If you hear some weird noises in the background, it's because I have a puppy who found the squeaky toy, and I'm hoping she has not yet been successful in finding the squeaker in the squeaky toy, but today might be that day. But it also has like a crinkly piece of plastic in it that she really likes, so if you hear plastic, that's what she's playing with. Anyway, so 2018 is about getting it all together. Not perfectly, just I've been kind of here, there, everywhere. 2018 for me is about getting organized, getting productive, and getting very clear on my goals and where I want to go and how I'm going to get there. So I've just kind of been budgeting my life, my finances, everything that I can to think about how I'm going to get from where I am to where I want to be. So that has been a big part of the beginning of this year, has just been figuring out what I have, what I don't need, what I do need, what I want, and out of those things that I want and what I need, what are the most necessary and what are the most feasible. So, yeah, I'm actually really excited to think about, I've planned kind of out 6 months. I think 6 months is a good place to be in terms of planning short-term goals. So I've planned out until the 1st of June, and I'm really excited about where things are headed and the things that I'm hopefully going to be able to accomplish in that next 6 months. I don't really have anything I'm ready to share yet about exactly what I'm working on for the next 6 months, but I can tell you that when I'm either able to share or when I have accomplished one of those things, you will know about it. So be on the lookout for that. You know, one of the things I really love about doing this podcast is that I can talk more than just knitting or crocheting or yarn crafting. I can talk a little bit about my life, and that's what I really love about this community, is everybody is extremely supportive of each other in more than just our creative endeavors. And I think that's one thing that really brings our community together, is this sense of generosity and helpfulness and openness, because I think we're kind of at a place right now in the world where we're starting, not that we're starting to realize that everybody's human, but that we're starting to embrace it. And I think we're being a little bit more bombarded with the idea that there's a lot of finality, there's a lot of finiteness about the world, and even if we have never been the kind of people to discriminate or judge or think negatively, I think even people who have always been generous, always been kind, always been open, even those people are being hit with this idea of humanity has kind of hit a low point. Not the lowest point, it's definitely not the lowest point considering history, but we've hit a low point. And I think a lot of us we're not okay with that. And I think this community shows the openness and the gratitude and the generosity and the kindness and the love that I'm hoping will continue to spread throughout different groups and peoples and races and religions. I'm hoping 2018 is going to be a year of change in the world, and not just... And that starts with individuals. Change in the world starts with individuals.
Support role, helping the special forces.
Why does my TV keep turning on?
What about you?
This happened last podcast too. I don't know. It really likes investigation discovery. I guess it wants me to solve murders, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, from that, I don't know if you can hear it. I am recovering from a sinus infection. This is day 6. I didn't get antibiotics until last night, so... Ooh, that reminds me. I didn't take one. I'm going to have to take one when I go to bed. So yeah, I am still a little congested, still a little runny. Things are moving around, and that's kind of awkward. At one point I'll be able to breathe through my nose, but I won't be able to hear, or my ears will be clogged, and then it'll move to my nose, and I can hear, like, dogs 3 buildings over, but I can't smell anything, which makes it really hard to eat, because, I don't know if you know this, smell plays into your taste. If your nose is clogged, things have, like, your taste buds get a little confused. So for the last few days, things have tasted like sand until today, and I had some pizza. Oh, that was so good. It was so good to be able to taste something again. Unfortunately, it was junk, but whatever. So yeah, I'm fighting. I'm on the tail end of a sinus infection, which should hopefully be better by the time I go to work next week. So, finally, 10 minutes later, I have a good amount of knitting and crocheting to show you, so we're going to jump right in with a couple of works in progress. First work in progress. I've shown this before. This is a little bit older. I've worked on it a little, but I'm going to be finishing it hopefully soon. So I want to show it again so that when it is done, you'll have an idea of what I was starting with. This is a scarf, cowl, cabled something or other. I was just kind of finishing up some really gross worsted weight Red Heart yarn. Just wanted to kind of get it out of the way. So I haven't really touched this much, but I did get about another 16, 20 rows knit on it while I've been working on some other things. So this is what I've got going. And the only thing is with these colors, it's kind of hard to see the cables, but I've got them going. There are 3 sets of cables. There's a set over here, a set in the middle, and then a set on this end. And I don't know how well you can see that. It's much clearer in person. This is one thing. I was at the knit shop on Thursday, and somebody was starting their very first pair of socks, and they mentioned that they wanted to kind of do a pattern in their sock, and they asked kind of my input on it. And I said that I like knitting vanilla socks, just plain stockinette socks. And the reason why is because I tend to knit socks out of yarn that has multiple colors. It's very similar to this, where it's got a lot of color to it. And if you've noticed, it's hard to see the pattern with all of this color happening. Color distracts from pattern, especially if it's like a cable or a texture pattern. Color tends to distract from it. It's when there's too much happening, you just can't see it. So, that's why if I were to ever knit a pattern on a sock, I would choose a solid color yarn, because otherwise there's too much happening. That's with color yarn, the color is the interesting part of the sock. You don't need a pattern to make the sock more interesting. Now, I understand there are some socks, like maybe if you're doing a self-striping yarn, one that has a very clear striping pattern, then I can understand, like, maybe you could throw a pattern in on that and it would look pretty nice. But I've had some yarns where the colors are more of like ombre or gradient. Not gradient, because gradient would almost be self-striping. It's more of an ombre, or it's very mixed, speckled, or very short sections of dye. And if I were to knit a pattern with that yarn, it would be distracting. You wouldn't see the pattern, you would just see the color. So with this, I think I've done cables on one end, so about that much. I think what I'm going to do is just knit the 2x2 rib until I get close to the other end, and then I'll throw in some more cables. Or I'll just knit the cables for that one part, knit the rest of it, and then I will kind of, I've thought about doing this, making a cowl but sewing the end that doesn't have cables up a little bit. I don't have anything to demonstrate with. That would be helpful, wouldn't it? Anyway, so if you were to take, say something about this long, and instead of wrapping it around and sewing it end to end, letting like a little bit hang down and then the rest come across, and sewing like the bind off edge to the edging stitch on the other side, it would be easier to show you when I'm done. But some of you may understand what I'm trying to say. This would be a lot better if I had a visual aid. And I don't think I have anything that would... wait. No. I don't have anything that would work to show you what I'm talking about. Anyway, so that's a work in progress. Hopefully it'll be done. I'm not really like super excited about it, but it's a nice kind of mindless project where I'm sitting around not doing anything. Second work in progress. I gotta look at my notes. I forgot what it was. Oh, right. I started this on Thursday. I saw Very Pink Knits do a tutorial on this scarf. So I downloaded the pattern. It's a free Ravelry pattern. It's called the Saroyan scarf. If you're familiar, I hope you enjoy that pattern. I find it to be very enjoyable. But, so this, well, it's curling a little bit. It'll look better when it's blocked, but, so this is kind of what it looks like. It's, the first side is an increase repeat until you reach the width that you like, and then you just take out the increases and continue with the repeat pattern. And then on the other side you decrease back to this small amount. But so yeah, so it's got leaves on one side, and then it's just got stockinette with a 4-stitch garter ridge on the other side, or garter edging. I am knitting this on Lion Brand Mandala. It's a DK weight yarn. I'm using size 6 needles. I'm using a 24-inch cable just to hold everything. So Lion Brand Mandala, I get this at Walmart. It's like $5. This is 590 yards or 540 meters. It's 150 grams. It's 100% acrylic. It's really soft, and it feels like there might be a wool in there. But there's not. It's just 100% acrylic. The colorway I'm using is called Centaur. So let me grab the ball here. So as I continue, it'll add these colors. This is a lot of yarn, so I probably won't get all the way through these colors, but I'm hoping to get maybe somewhere in here. We'll see how that goes. Because I was thinking, I kind of want this to be, you know, I want it to be a good width. I want it to be able to wear it and know that it's warm. So I'll probably go to maybe somewhere out here before I stop increasing. I think the pattern calls for the pattern has a certain width measurement in it, but I've decided to just go with whatever I feel fits around my neck better, and I kind of like something a little bit thicker because I want the edging to show. I want these leaves to show. I don't know if you can see those very well, but I want those to show when I wear it, so I'm probably gonna make it a little bit thicker. So that is work in progress number 2. Next up is finished objects. So finished objects, I have 4 to show you. Let's start with this. If you've been following me for a while, you'll know I've been working on this for a while. This is a virus shawl. This is crochet, because I do crochet as well. This is the second virus shawl I've ever made. I don't think I ever got to show the first one on a podcast, because I finished it a while before I ever started actually podcasting. So this is the second one I ever made, or the second virus shawl I've made. This is from my friend Delaney. Now, it's not huge. It's relatively small. The reason for that is the person I made it for is a very small person. She's maybe 5 feet, and she weighs maybe 95 pounds wet. So she's a very, very, very small person. She doesn't need a massive shawl. This is done in Red Heart acrylic yarn in black and silver. I don't know if you can kind of see. This actually does have a bit of a sheen to it, so it's not just like a gray. There is a bit of a sheen to it, so it's a silver color. This has been blocked, and the way that I block and soften acrylic yarn is I will soak it. A lot of people say to run it through the washer and let the agitator kind of, you know, spin it around, soften up the yarn. I don't like doing that, mainly because my agitator is very aggressive, so it tends to sometimes pull things apart. So I opted not to do that. What I do is I fill my sink with lukewarm, maybe slightly warm water, and then I use Gain dishwasher dish soap that has a moisturizer in it, and I use that and soak this up and make sure that the soap gets into a lot of the fiber. Then I hang it up to drip dry, and then as soon as most of the water is out, I go ahead and throw it in the dryer, which kind of fluffs everything out, pulls out a little bit more of the water, and then it's nice and soft. So the yarn is definitely much softer than when I was actually crocheting it. So I'm really pleased with this. This was supposed to be a Christmas gift like a year ago, and I just now finished it, so sorry, Delaney. I haven't seen her in a while, so I'm hoping this gives us a good enough reason to meet up again. She's been busy with her things, I've been busy with my things. It's been a while since we've been able to get together, so I'm hoping this will give us a good enough reason to be able to find some time in our busy lives and our busy schedules. So yeah, I'm really excited to give that to her. The second finished object is a pair of socks. They're on blockers right now. These are actually dirty because I already worn them, but I was going to put them through the laundry, or at least the washer, before this podcast, but it didn't make it into the first load. So they're on the blockers, but they're dirty. And this is them. This yarn came from my friend Angel at Sin City Knits. The funny thing was, it came on a 9-inch circular because she tried a 9-inch circular and decided she didn't like it, but she left the sock on there. And she had already knit like this much of the first one. So I finished knitting it, and then of course knit a second one. I switched to my Chow Goo though. This was knit on US 2s. So the entirety of this one was knit on a Knitter's Pride US 2 Dreams 9-inch circular, and this one was knit on a US 2 Chow Goo stainless steel 9-inch circular. The other thing is Angel's tension is looser than mine. So while they are the same length and the same size, this one is slightly looser in the cuff. Nothing that's like annoying and can't be worked with, but it is a little bit looser. We don't remember what kind of yarn this was. We know it's a wool, but that's about all we know. There was no ball band or anything. I don't know how much I've used. I do know that it is a sock weight yarn. I also know that it's wool because it's definitely pilling where I had it in my shoes. Which is fine. Not a big deal. Most of the socks I knit, I don't really wear out. I wear them at home. But I did want to wear these to work one day because when I knit a pair of socks, I like to show them off at work. So these did get worn at work one day. But the other thing is that the shoes I wear to work are a little bit loose, so they rub. Ooh, that's a big pill. So hopefully this doesn't happen too much more. I don't know if you can see that where it rubbed. So that's what's happening on both of them. Not a big deal. Again, I love knitting socks so much now that I could probably just crank out more pairs by the time I'm ready. But yeah. Okay, so if you followed me for a while, you know that I tried the Fish Lips Kiss Heel on another pair of socks. Actually on 2 pairs of socks. I have 2 pairs of socks that I tried the Fish Lips Kiss Heel on. And I didn't like it. I kept dropping stitches. It was a nightmare. And I wasn't a fan. So I switched to a German short row. I very much prefer a German short row. But what I did is I substituted the German short row in place of the Fish Lips Kiss Heel pattern. So I did a boomerang heel, but I used German short rows. Now the thing is, German short rows are not supposed to leave holes, but this one did. I'm not unhappy with it. I feel like I need to find better options. Something that's not a Fish Lips Kiss Heel. I don't know if you can really see it there, but it has holes, and this is after the first wear. Now, it's still sturdy, and it's still holding. It's just, I really need to play with heels. I'm trying to avoid doing heel flaps and gussets. I hate picking up the stitches. I want to be able to do a short row heel. And I like this boomerang style heel. I guess that really only works with Fish Lips Kiss. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not unhappy. Again, I'm not unhappy. These turned out great. They have stretched because they've been worn, but I know as soon as they go back through the wash, they'll shrink back down. For reference, I have a size men's 10.5 foot. That was knit with 64 stitches on a US 2 9-inch circular needle. It's still slightly loose. Only in the cuff. Like, I can't get the sock to stay up. It's fine in the foot. It's not tight, but it does pull from heel to here, just because I have a very wide foot there. So 64 stitches is almost not enough to get around that part of my foot, but I don't feel any kind of pull. It just looks tight. So not a big deal there. Again, that was a US 2 with 64 stitches. I like it, but I do like a bit of a tighter knit sock. So if I go back down to a US 1, I will probably, because 72 stitches is what I did I did 72 on US 2s, and that was really loose. So 72 on US 1s might be my magic number. We'll see. I'll play around with it. I have some more sock yarn over here. Oh, that's one thing I forgot. I do need that, actually, but I'll get to that in a minute. Third finished object today. I actually finished this today. It's blocking, so it's still a little wet. If you'll remember, I dyed some yarn that was half black and then half like blue, yellow, and red speckles, and I called it Sneaking Candy After Midnight. Well, I decided I wanted to make that hat. So I did. And then I used, this is Wool of the Andes. Wait, I have it. Wool of the Andes Superwash in the Bittersweet Heather colorway. It is a worsted weight yarn. It is 110 yards for 50 grams. It's 100% superwash wool. And again, it's a worsted weight. This is from Knit Picks. This came in a haul that I got a month or two ago. And what I decided is that I always, for some reason, I like the brim of my hats to be like a nice neutral color, because while I like this, I think this should be the focus of the hat, but it looks weird in the brim to me. So I pulled out that yarn, the Bittersweet Heather, and I just knit my brim. It is a 1x1 rib. It was knit, it's a worsted weight knit on US 4s, and I cast on 112 stitches. So it fits on this mannequin great. It does not quite fit on my head so well, which is not a problem. Like, this would make a great gift for somebody with a slightly smaller head. I want to show you the crown. I love the way that knit up. It actually kind of spiraled its way up. So I love that way that came together. So the way that I did the crown, there's a lot of different ways to do decreases, and I don't think there's no really right or wrong way to do it. So what I did is I knew that I had 112 stitches. What I needed to do was find a number that 112 was divisible by evenly. So I started with 6. 6 didn't work. So then I went to 7, and that didn't work either. But 112 was divisible by 8, and I think it came out to 14. So what I did is I knew that there were 14 sets of 8 stitches without any decreases. So 14 sets of 8 stitches. What I needed to do was start decreasing. So what I did is I would, starting at the beginning of my round, I knit 6 and then knit 2 together to knit 7. So what I did is I knew every round of decreases needed to be one number less in the set of stitches each time. So if I started with 8, I knew that my first decrease round, which would mean that each set of 8 would need to be 7 stitches. So I knit 6, knit 2 together, knit 6, knit 2 together. Then I did a round of just knitting. Next was knit 5, knit 2 together, knit 5, knit 2 together. But in my head, I'm thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7, but knitting 2 together. So I was actually counting the number of stitches that I would have left over, not the number of stitches I was knitting, if that makes sense. If you've never done that before, don't let that mess you up. Just do whatever works for you. I, for some reason, felt like I needed to explain how I did that. Anyway, so I continued to decrease, 8 sets of 7, 8 sets of 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. And then when you get down to 1, you just end up knitting 2 together all the way around. And when you do that, you end up with 14 stitches, which is the number of sets you had to begin with. So ended up with 14 stitches, and then I knit one more round just to get those knit 2s out of the way. And then, so at that point I decreased, I think I decreased on the 8 sets of 4 stitches to double pointed needles. And so then what I did is when I finally got my last row, and I was just down to 14 stitches, I cut my yarn, and I put it on a yarning needle, and I slipped all of the stitches onto the scrap yarn, and then pulled slightly tight, and then fed the needle down through the center, and flipped the hat inside out, pulled tight, and then tied it off. But to make sure that that crown stayed really secure and closed, I went ahead and wove the end in through those inside knit stitches again, and pulled it tight one more time and tied it, and then I wove in my ends. And then of course wove in my ends on the rest of the hat. Then I soaked it, squeezed out the water, and then now it is blocking on here. I'm hoping what's going to happen is that the brim is going to block a little bit stretched so that it'll fit on my head. The idea was to make it a slouchy hat. When I realized that it wasn't going to fit on my head to do that, I actually went ahead and started decreasing. So I ended up getting left... Where did that yarn go? I got left with a decent amount. I think I got left with half of the cake because I had caked it up. So I think I'm actually left with this another amount of this. And so what I think I'm going to do is I will make another one. I'll knit the brim again, and then to make it more slouchy, I'm going to have to do some increases around the base here where the brim connects to the rest of the hat so that it's a little bit looser. I think I'll probably increase from because I think I'm going to start with 120 stitches this time just to make the brim less tight. So I'll go from 120 to maybe like 132. Some number up there to make it a little bit more stretchy. I might even go to 140 just to give it some extra slouch, and then knit until I'm out of yarn, and then I'll tie in the rest of the black to knit the crown. So look for that. I think I'm going to try that. That's one thing I really love about knitting. I'm going to try to... I mean, I love knitting patterns, don't get me wrong. I've been adding patterns to my Ravelry library like crazy recently. But I love kind of just taking something and thinking about it intuitively. I think it keeps me sharp. So I'm going to continue to do that. It's just kind of play around with it, see what works, see what doesn't. I think that just makes me a better knitter. So I'm going to keep working on that. And the last finished object was actually a finished object 2 weeks ago, and that was the hat that I knit for Christian. I did show pictures on the last podcast of the finished object while it was blocking. I think it actually was on that mannequin head last time. Or no, I think it was on the other one that I have. But she did receive it. She loved it. She was so excited. She immediately sent me pictures of her wearing it, and she said, I will send better pictures, but right now I'm too excited, so here's 2 just quick pictures of me wearing it. So I've included those 2 pictures right here. So she's very happy to have that. I did want to show you guys her wearing that hat to show you not only that it fits on the mannequin, but it also fits on her head. So that's a really exciting thing because, you know, it can look great when you're blocking it out on a mannequin head, but you never know what it's going to look like on the people until they put it on. So I'm very thrilled to see that she got it. She loves it. She wears it all the time. She tells me so. So that's really exciting. So that is technically my finished object, even though I finished it a few weeks ago. It does not count as a finished object for 2018, though. Okay, so let's move on. Some new stuff. Okay, so right before Christmas, or was it right after Christmas? I think it was right after. Sorry, my ears are clogging. Right after Christmas, I went to the yarn shop and finally saw Angel again. And we exchanged a couple of gifts. Well, she gave me a whole lot more than I gave her. But I know what I gave her is something she'd been wanting for a long time. And I'm actually going to go ahead and plug it. I have written 2 books. I have a book of poetry and short fiction, and then another book of poetry. The first one is called You're Uninvited. The second one is called All Time Passes By. She saw that I was a writer and an author, and she asked for signed copies of those books. So I did get her those books for Christmas and signed them and gave them to her. So she was very excited to receive those. I don't know if she's read any. She was not at the yarn shop this week when I was there. So I don't know if she's read any of it yet. She told me she was going to, so I'm sure she has. But if you're interested in any, if you do any kind of reading and you're interested in purchasing a copy, I will leave links to where you can find those. You are under no obligation to purchase those at all, but if you do feel so inclined and you like to read poetry or short fiction, I will leave those links in the video description box below. So yeah, if you want to pick up a copy, pick up a copy. I don't really promote those very often. They were kind of more of, they're self-published, just kind of done by me. They're not through any kind of like special publishing company or anything like that. You won't find it on the shelf. It's all online. It's, what do they call that? Print to order. So they don't print it until you order it. Not a big, I mean, it's out there. It's nice that it's out there. I don't really, you know, I didn't write it for the purposes of becoming famous or rich or anything. I just wrote it to put it out there. So, yeah, it's out there. If you want to check it out, check it out. If you don't, cool, not a big deal to me. If you do get it and you read it, let me know. Or leave a review on Amazon, because that's one of the best things you can do to any of your friends or family or anybody that you know that's a writer. Leaving a review is one of the best ways to show your appreciation. Oh yeah, so in exchange for all of that, she actually gave me a lot of stuff, and I have it around. It's all kind of here. So a lot of it was yarn, and one of the first things was this yarn, this sock yarn, with the 9-inch circular. She hated the 9-inch circular, so she gave it to me. So you've seen that. So she also gave me Bernat blanket yarn. So, sorry Angel, we've talked about this. I thought it was French and it was pronounced Bernat. I watched a video from somebody who's actually, like, a person in the company. She was doing a pom-pom tutorial, and it's pronounced Bernat. Bernat. So, oops. I will make sure that I do that correctly. Anyway, so I got 2 balls of this Bernat blanket. This is a 6, so it's a super bulky. This is 100% polyester. It's 300 grams and approximately 220 yards, or 201 meters. So I have 2 of those, which will probably get turned into a blanket at some point. I have more of this in kind of smaller quantities around, so that's probably where a lot of that is going to go. I lost the other one. Oh. Found it. I tried doing something with this already and it didn't work out, so now it's just wrapped back up. What else did she give me? She gave me this. I'm going to try and show it to you because it's tied up. It's like, well, I call it eyelash yarn. It's kind of like feathery. Something you might be able to like sew into something. I've never knit with this before. I'm interested to see how it works out. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. I might just like knit one side of a pillow or something out of it. But I got it in two, she gave me two colors. She gave me that nice peacock, and then this is kind of like a chocolate, gold, you know, nice browns, mocha type colors. So I have that. That was another one of the things she gave me. And then the one I almost forgot about, which is over there. Give me just a second. I need to grab it. If you followed me for a little bit, you'll know I knit socks out of Tink yarn, which is a locally dyed yarn here by Terry, who goes to Sin City Knit Shop. She sells only in-store locally here. So if you come to Las Vegas, go to Sin City Knit Shop and you can pick up some of that yarn. But Angel gave me some yarn that she wasn't using, and I forgot that it was over there. And it is this. Look at that sparkle. I'm really excited about this. At least we think this is Tink. She didn't have a ball band for it. She just had this yarn. So we think it's Tink. I don't know what the colorway is. I like it. It's kind of like a reddish, purplish brown. I'm gonna kind of call it like maybe a subtle plum. It's a little red to be plum. I think plum is more of a, it's got more purple in it. But this is almost like a russet color. I don't know. Anyway, so I got that. I love the sparkles. It looks like it's a pretty high twist. It is soft. It is fingering weight. I'm not going to knit socks out of this. As much as I love the sparkle, and normally I would knit socks out of fingering weight yarn, which is essentially the only reason I have fingering weight yarn, I don't want sparkle in my socks. There's no particular reason for that. It should be, to me, this should be on something else that's going to show more than just the ankle or the cuff of my sock. So I haven't figured out what I'm going to do with this yet, but I do have it. I might incorporate this into a colorwork shawl. So I have that, and I did have to untangle it. That's my experience with Tink yarn so far, is that I have to untangle it. But that's what I get for getting it for free. So, yeah, really appreciative of that. Oh, this is another thing she gave me, this marble chunky. This is a 200 gram ball. It is 100% acrylic. I'm going to say it's probably a 5. Because it's not telling me. It says you can use 6mm needles. What's 6mm? US 8? Oh. Well, you know what? The ball band just came off. Sort of. Well, this is a happy mess. Let's see if I can find the hole again. Anyway, yeah, I think this is probably a 5. It's definitely thicker than a worsted. Oh, well, maybe not. Yeah, I think it's a 5. Or maybe like a heavy 4. Because if you pull it, it looks thicker than it is, but if you pull it up, it actually kind of runs like worsted thickness. So that's maybe what it is. It gives me 341 yards or 312 meters. Don't know what I'm going to do with this. A lot of the yarn she gives me, which, Angel, I know you're watching this, most of the yarn that I get from her, it goes into a stash, and then I kind of look at it, and the more she gives me, the more I think I would love to just make a scrap yarn blanket. Scrap yarn blanket, because she gives me full balls. But I would just love to make like a conglomerate blanket, and like maybe just crochet it, because it would be quick. But I don't know. Something is going to speak to me. I'm going to use it. It's going to be great. I I mean, I love the pink color, so I don't think this has... It's just lot 1658, color MC30. Marble Chunky from James C. Brett. So, yeah, that's what that is. The last thing she gave me that at least I can remember, I unpacked the bag she gave me almost immediately when I got home. The last thing she got me, because she knows I like to read, is this book called Bad Things by Tamara Thorne. Essentially, this is kind of like a fantasy... I don't know exactly how they describe it. Maybe like fantasy thriller or fantasy horror. It's about some guy who can see these tiny mischievous demons, and he sees them in his childhood, but as an adult, he can still see them, and now they're coming after his kids. So, this is going on my list. I actually keep a list of books that I'm reading, so this is unfortunately going to the end of my list, and I have a pretty long list, but it's going on my list. So, hopefully I will be getting to this. I would like to get to it within the year. So, yeah, keep up with me. I might let you know how this goes. Alright, so I have a few other new things. My grandmother gave me a $100 gift card, and of course I immediately went to Knit Picks during their Bear Yarn sale and bought a bunch of yarn and some new dye. Okay, so I got the same yarn my sister got me. This is the Wool of the Andes Bear Yarn. It is a sport weight. It is 100% Peruvian Highland wool. And I have a ball band in here somewhere, I think. Yeah. So this is 274 yards. It's 100 grams. It is a number 2, which isn't a number 2 fingering weight, or is it number 1 fingering weight? It's a little confusing because everybody tells me that sport weight is really similar to DK weight. It's a little thinner than DK weight, but I see where they get the point. But I thought lace weight was a 1, and I thought fingering weight was a 2. This says it's a 2, but it's definitely thicker than fingering weight. So, sport weight is what? Like a 2.5, really? Anyway, so I have 2, 4, 6, 8 of these. Is that right? Yeah. I have 8 more of these, Bear. And then I went ahead and got my favorite. This is the Galileo. This is 50% merino wool and 50% viscose from bamboo. It's 262 yards for 100 grams. This is also a sport weight. Of course, it's Bear. Yeah, it's just called Galileo. So I like this because it's super soft. It has a great sheen to it. It's a high twist, or what I call high twist. Like, I can see the braided quality of it. What I really love about this yarn when I'm dyeing it is that it does not take 20 to 25 minutes for water to saturate the yarn. The great thing about this is I get the water in the sink, I add my citric acid, and then I add this yarn, and literally within seconds, it's completely saturated. It just soaks up water that quickly. Now, I do go ahead, because it's wool, so wool needs a little bit of time. I soak this for about 10 minutes, and then I dye it. Just to make sure that the citric acid and everything is getting absorbed, even though I'm also putting citric acid in the water that I'm heating up to add the dye. But yeah, this does not take nearly as long to soak. So I have 7 of these hanks. So in total, I have 15 Bear hanks of yarn right now. And I did that because I got 8 new dyes, and I want to be able to play with them. So, currently the dyes I had, I used Jacquard acid dyes. The dyes I had were jet black, yellow, blue, and red. Primary colors in black. That's what I had. So when I wanted other colors, what I had to do was mix dyes. Well, the issue with that is that if it's not perfectly mixed or it's not being absorbed correctly in the yarn, the colors will separate as it spreads through the yarn. So if I tried to dye purple, I would end up with sections of blue and red. Or if I would try to dye orange, you could see the yellows and the reds split up instead of it just staying orange. So I decided I wanted to update. So I got 8 new things of dye. And the great thing about getting it from KnitPicks is KnitPicks actually has them the cheapest. You can get them on Amazon, but they're about $7. On KnitPicks, they're like $4.79. And the great thing is with KnitPicks, if you order $50 or more, it ships for free. So, of course, I added this. By the way, this yarn and dye haul was $93. I know I'm the budget knitter and I'm spending a lot of money. But, again, the money was a gift. Like, the gift card actually said for all of the yarn things that you want. So, I guess really it wasn't my money. It was money that was allotted for this anyway. So, this was a $93 haul. The majority of that was the yarn. Okay, so I got 8 new colors. And I'm going to have to figure out exactly how they differ from each other. So, this one is Russet. And this looks to be like a deeper red color. It's not quite as bright. The red I have is a fire red, so this is Russet. It's a bit of a deeper red color. Then I have Hot Fuchsia. So this is going to be a fuchsia pink. So it's a pink, which is great because I have a lot of people in my life who really like pink, so... Spruce. This is Spruce. I love the idea of green yarn, and I wanted a dark green. There's not really a good way to do that mixing yarns, or mixing dyes, unless you do the yellow and blue, which, by the way, if you're mixing anything with yellow, it's like 3 parts yellow, half part any other color, just to get it to balance out. To make orange, it's 3/8 of a tablespoon, so I have them measured by 1/8. It's 3 1/8 scoops of yellow dye to half of an 1/8 of red dye to make orange. That's ridiculous. I was using yellow dye like crazy. Why did I not buy more yellow dye? Anyway, so I got Spruce to get a nice dark green. Oh yeah, to get a dark green I would have to do yellow and blue and then add black, which again would just make 3 colors that would then separate when it comes time to actually dye the yarn. So I got a nice green color, like an evergreen. It's a spruce tree. I got that. And then I also got Emerald, because I have that Adventures in Oz colorway. So I went ahead and got Emerald because I wanted to be able to do that without mixing dye. The idea here is that I'm trying not to mix dyes as much as I can, unless that's the look that I'm going for. I really would prefer to have solid colors. Oh, okay, so I also got brown, just a nice brown. I think they also make chocolate, but I went ahead and just got brown. I think that I like wearing... I don't like grays as much. I like blacks and browns as my neutrals. So I got brown for that. Okay. So then I also got burnt orange instead of trying to dye or mix dyes for orange. I'm actually kind of thrilled with the orange one I came out with last time. We ended up naming it. I hadn't named it at the time. Did I show those to you guys? I know I showed them hanging up in the closet. We'll get to that in a minute. So this is burnt orange. And then I have Aztec Gold. And I'm interested to see how this dyes up, because it looks like it's just a really bright orange. By the way, these dyes, like, they're a huge jar, but the dye, like, it's less than half full. Granted, you don't need a lot, but, yeah. So this looks like it's maybe a really bright orange. I think that's what that is. And then the last thing I got is a silver gray, because you can never have enough gray. At least I've been told you should always have at least 3 different grays in your stash, because you never know when you're going to need a neutral gray, and gray goes with basically everything. So I bought silver gray, again for that purpose of having a neutral. Okay, so in regards to that orange, let me grab that. I can't remember if I showed it. I feel like I did, but I maybe had not hanked it up yet. So let me grab those two. Okay, so the first one, I had named this already, but I like it. This is very similar to the Sneaking Candy at Midnight, except there's no black in it. So I have this. This one is called Send in the Clowns. This is the sport weight yarn. Actually, yeah, these are both sport weight because that's all I had at the time. So this is the one, we're calling it Pumpkin Spice. So this is the orange color I was able to get by mixing 3 parts yellow with half part red. It actually looks a little washed out on the screen. It's a little darker than this. But then I did some black speckling. I'm actually kind of thrilled with that. That actually worked out really well considering I did it in an immersion bath. So I was really afraid it was going to spread, but it didn't. Anyway, so we're calling this Pumpkin Spice, but yeah, this is the orange color I got by mixing. So I'm interested to see what happens when I use a dye that is specifically orange. I don't know. I kind of like the way this turned out. Again, it's going to be preference. If I like the way it looks, then I will mix dyes. But if I'm really aiming for that nice solid color where the colors don't separate, then I'll use the solid color. But that's what I really like about this, is that there are options. Okay. So I'm going to put that down. Oof. So that's really all I have to show you in terms of knitting. What I'd really like to do now is just think about 2018 and where I hope this is going. I want 2018 to be the year of productivity. I want there to be projects flying off the needles. I want to be able to show you a finished object every podcast. That's supposed to be my goal. My goal is supposed to be to have at least one finished object every podcast. The other thing is I want to have a new project to show you every podcast. So I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to kind of organize my time, again, budgeting my time and finances. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to do one new project and one finished object every 2 weeks. That may not happen, but that's the goal. The other thing is I want to do yarn reviews. I want to be able to review yarn for you guys, because I know in terms of this whole budget thing, there's so many budget yarns out there that sometimes you don't know what to choose. So I would like to start doing those yarn reviews. I know I've been promising them for like months now, but that is something that I want to finally get under my fingers. The other thing is I've got more reviews coming. I've got reviews of another set of needles that's going to be coming up soon. So with that, with the year of productivity, what I want to know is, what do you want to see from me? Do you want to see tutorials? Do you want to do a knit along? Do you want there to be giveaways? And if you want giveaways, what would you like to see as gifts? Do you want maybe one of the giveaways is I dye you a hank of yarn? Maybe that's something I could do for you. Is that something that you would want? If that's the case, let me know. Please send me leave me a comment below. You can find me on Instagram, or you can write me on Facebook as well. Just let me know what you want to see from me, because I want to be able to tailor this to you. None of this would exist without you. So let me know what you want to see, what you would want as giveaways. Do you want to do a knit along? Do you want to have tutorials? I know somebody mentioned at one point that they would like a sweater tutorial. I would love to do that. Is that something you guys are interested in? And would you like to do it as just a tutorial where I film it and then put it all up as one video from beginning to end? Or would you like to do it as a knit along where I start it, I show you how I cast on and how I put everything together, and then maybe a month later, I say, okay, so this is the place where we are now. I think the Grocery Girls did it as their Off Our Needles podcast on Craftsy. They did their knit along, but they did some tutorials with it to show you, like, hey, this is where we are in our sweater, so here's a little technique that's going to help you. Is that something that you would be interested in? If so, let me know, because I would love to plan that. I have, there's actually a sweater I do want to knit. It's called the Flax Sweater. I think that would be a really fun knit along. And they've got sizes for everybody. I can't promise I can teach you how to choose the correct size. I have yet to knit a lot of things that fit me correctly. But I can at least show you some of the techniques that I used. And maybe all you want to do is just knit a sweater. Maybe it doesn't even have to fit. Maybe you just choose the size and you knit it as it is in the pattern without modifying it, just to say, hey, I knit a sweater. I've done it and it's done. So if that's something you want to do, let me know. I would love to do that. I don't want to do it if that's not something that you want. So let me know in the comments on Facebook, on Instagram, wherever that you get a hold of me. You can contact me on Ravelry if you want to talk there. I believe my email has been posted on the video description in a couple of my past videos. So if you have my email address, shoot me an email, let me know what you want to see, especially if you're thinking, if you don't want to just throw things out there into the internet. If you want to email me privately, that's fine. I will go ahead and put my email down there. So just let me know what you want to see, what you want to do. Let's make this an awesome year of productivity. So yeah, I think that is everything that I have for you today. I'm really surprised. It has been a really long time since I have recorded over an hour of a podcast. I usually try to keep these things short because if you're like me, you have a short attention span and you're probably not to the end of this podcast. What's funny is I probably won't even make it to the end of my own podcast while I'm trying to edit it. I will probably give up somewhere in the middle. I'm kidding. I will make it all the way through. But anyway, thank you, new viewers. Please go ahead and hit subscribe. You can click the little bell, and that'll notify you every time I put up a video. I do try to put up a video every 2 weeks, and sometimes I throw in some extra content in there. Old subscribers, thank you for joining me again. I am very, very happy that you have decided to stick with me this long. Share me with your friends, your family. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on all the social medias that I have posted. Let me know what you're working on. I'd like to see the projects that you're working on as well. So yeah, Happy New Year. Happy 2018. Happy... Some of you are still celebrating holidays, I think, right? So if you're still celebrating a holiday, happy holidays. Yeah, so we're going to make this a year of productivity. I'm really excited about it. So hopefully you will join me for this journey. And I cannot wait to see what the rest of this year brings. So have a wonderful day, have a wonderful night, a wonderful week, a wonderful month, and a wonderful year. And love people. And I will see you again very, very soon.